Hey everyone. So yesterday we finished our stream early and we learned about create feature and how we can actually remove the selector file which we used to create thanks to tip from Marco. So today we will continue with the cart UI. So we'll try to do two things. We'll learn about how you can have dumb components, like the component which just accepts the data as input, and what actually dumb components are. And then we'll also try to do selector composition. We have actually already done that, but we'll see an example where we can actually compose state or compose selector from multiple features. So let's go ahead and do that. So first, let's go ahead and start with creating our dumb component. And I'm also trying my new mouse today, so just in case I'm low or slow in the moment, just that's because it's my new mouse and I'm loving it so far. So yeah, what we need is we need username and password because we want to actually fetch the data. So if you remember, we retrieved the profile information when we click on profile. But what we will do is we will retrieve the profile information as soon as we log in. So we know the username, right? So because why we are doing this? Because I need this profile information to be available as soon as user logs in, so I can use this some of the information on my card page as well, which will be only available once user logs in. Basically, we can do without that as well. We already have the data, but I have to go ahead and click on profile to load this all profile information. Ah, sorry. Just in case my voice was low, my mic was far away, so I just grabbed it now. So let's start. So first thing first, let's move this code to load profile information once we log in. So we already have this users service, right? So here we made some made a login service, right? And then we said, okay, once user logs in, this is what will happen. The state will change, and then we will navigate the user to product. And for user, if you see this, yeah, profile, sorry. For profile, what we did is we actually just grabbed the data from user service, which is to patch the value. This is, and we call load profile, which loads the data basically, and which in turn gets the user data. And yeah, so this is what we need, right? We need this user's data to be available in a state. So we'll make some changes. We'll create some state information like an ngRx state for this. So what we need is we need a effect. We need a reducer with state. And so as I mentioned, we don't need to create our selector anymore. So we just need to create three files: action, effect, and one called state, which contains our selectors plus reducer, and we will use create feature API. So let's do that. And here I can do that using in the login sorry, we already have user service here, so I can actually save or create all these files in this store folder. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we can say nx generate. Do we have ngrx? Okay, we do. So it says adds an ngrx feature store to an application or library, and ngrx root store. Okay, we don't need any of this. We just need X. No, so it's not available. But yeah, ngrx also has some of these schematics. So you can actually go ahead and create the selector, uh, reducer, effects, I think, by using their own schematics as well. But as of now, we already have these files. So we'll just grab them and make sure whenever you copy paste, change the name. Don't be like me. I mean, I've made this mistake so many times. So here we'll go to store and we'll change this product to user. The question, I mean, in case you are online, are you able to listen to my mouse clicks? Because I just changed my mouse. My previous mouse was like the silent one. This is not the silent one, but this is ergonomic mouse and very good. I can literally feel my hands are like uh, much better in much better condition because uh, the earlier mouse was different. So here we need user information. We already have a user interface. So we will say, hey, this is okay. We don't need an interface because we already created this user with all the information which we need. Let's go ahead and create our actions. I'll remove this. We don't need it anymore. And create action group. We can say, okay, this is user. Um, you can listen to my mouse clicks. Okay, I'll see if I. Mhm. Okay, I have my noise cancellation on. Your Microsoft Post SD background. 1 second. Force activation of best noise cancellation. My God. Okay, I just tried to change it, but it says my my laptop is going into high load mode. So there is actually a setting called the best setting for noise cancellation. I I use this crisp for just for reference. So yep, let's do this first. So what we need is we need load user profile. Right? So here we need one prop. Yeah, it's I mean I can understand, but sometimes it's just irritating. So load user profile. What we need is we need an user ID. So based on this user ID, we can grab this information, and to do that, we will just pass a single property, which is login ID. And here we'll just remove this category and I'll call this as ID, which is of type number. And based on this action, there will be success, there will be failure, and we'll import user interface. And again, for this auto completion, I don't do anything extra. I just use GitHub Copilot, and I'll call this as user actions. And this is effect. So here we need to create an effect to load profile, load file, and then I'll change this section. I'll call this as user action. And now we have the information which we need, which is user actions. Let's change this a little bit. So rather than product service, we will of course use user service here. So we already have the service created for us. And that's the advantage. I mean, in case you want to move to NGRX and you already have services, it becomes like easy a little bit. So you can see you can actually already use the existing code to create your effects. And here I'll just use user service. Let's start using this one, user service, and we change it here. We call it as user action. And we don't have load product, but we have load user profile. And we need um, and from here we will get user service, and here we'll call it user service load. Let's see what's the method. get user, and based on the user. So if you remember, earlier method does not accept user ID because we made it so we just made like ID as a parameter, or we just pass it here. So let's create another API called get user by ID. Get user by ID, and we have ID, which is type of number. I mean, you can see GitHub Action is just actually writing entire code for me. I don't have to do anything, but sometimes you have to act right that you're writing code. So otherwise, people will think that you don't do anything. Just kidding. I know you trust me. So if action dot and I trust GitHub Copilot more. Great. So we are now calling this API and user actions. I'll just use this one. Let's change it here as well. And it says it will be load user profile success, where we pass user information, and it will be load failure, where I just pass the error. So this is it. We created our effect as well. We can remove this unused imports. So you can suggest say remove this. Our action is ready. We have load user profile by ID. Effect is ready. We have our interface, which is available. Uh, Now let's go ahead and create our state. So it's user state. And here we have error. It's okay. Other apart from that, we have user, which I will say, okay, it can be undefined because I'm on strict mode, and it will just throw me an error in case I just try to use something else. And we can say this is user state. Change this to the action, which is import from user action. And what we need is, sorry, user actions. And let's change this, make user as undefined. Let's remove the count because you don't need it. And here we are supposed to actually handle two actions, success and failure, because where our states will update. And let's call load profile, not failure, but the success. And here it's load failure. So now in state, we have actually user. So let's remove this and let GitHub Copilot write the code for me. And then I'll change this to user. This is the feature key. And here, now let's change this because select error remains same, but other one will be select profile. Sorry, select user. So yeah, this key plus select, that's what we have here. Selector. Great. So everything is ready. We can just start using this feature, new NGX state into our code base now. So let's go ahead and register this. We need to export them first before we can use them. So I'll just say, hey, export star from dot slash lib slash store. And from store, what we need is we need effect. So I'll just say, okay, give me effect. And I don't need user interface, but I just need store. So if you remember, we created a store.state, so state, not store. So we need this too. And now we can actually go ahead and register them into our which state? Interesting question. So here we have the login, which is the first one, right? So we can actually go ahead and do it on login. So let's say, uh, so all the routes actually we have defined here into app.config.ts, right? So this is, sorry, this is the initial configuration, but yeah. So you can see with ngrx and thanks to uh, providers property, which is now available on your route, you can actually register it here. So I can actually make it available on login, which is my this state, which is actually, if you see, it's actually default one as well. So we can actually go ahead and do it on the root. Augustine, hey, Santosh. So there is a question. Let's take that and then we'll come back here. Quick question. Why do you initialize store on undefined? Isn't it a better practice to initialize user in null? So I think null is not the best practice. I think the best practice is to use undefined, not null, because you have to always handle null everywhere if you define it as a null. And in strict mode, we generally prefer undefined. So if you see any documentation, probably most probably they will prefer undefined, not null. And of course, if you are not using strict mode, that error will not be there, because if you see, uh, once, let's say you create a property and you are not on strict mode, I think the value will be by default null, not undefined, if I'm not wrong. I mean, I can try it, but probably it's not the null. Null is not the best practice. So yeah, we can actually register this store on our root. We can do that. So provide state. We already have here. Can we do multiple category state? I think we can do multiple here. But I can check it for you. Maybe I'll check with someone who knows better than me. Category feature. So provide state. Let's see. Let's see the hmm. Here we can pass feature name. Yeah, so it's only one. So it means I can register multiple features. That's something which we can do. So we can of course provide multiple state. And here we can say this is user. Let's see what's the name. Mm, Product user. I hope I changed the name here. No, I didn't. So I don't need this anymore now, because I can just pass it here. And this can be our user, and change this to user feature. That's it. So I can use this one here. Let's import this. Okay, this is the correct one. And there is some error. What's this error? Okay, so in user effect, I'm still calling. Why? Okay, there is another one. I need to remove this. Yeah, compiled successfully. So we registered our state on the root. So we said, hey, provide state and add user state here. Similarly, I can add my user effects here. I hope the name is correct. What is a profile? Because this was a class based. Yeah. And we cannot merge both of them because this is different. So functional effects needs to be registered as in curly brackets. So if you're doing both, so make sure that you register it in the normal syntax, and functional effects is like this. So let's go ahead and see our state so far. I mean, we can of course already see it in action. So let's inspect. Let's go to our Redux store and let's see what is loaded. So we have init, get category success, but we can also see our state. What does this contain? So we have category, we have user. So of course, user state is defined, right? I mean, as soon as you can see this key, it means that it is loaded. The state is loaded. Now we can just go ahead and do other stuff. Other stuff means doing the login. So now on login, let's go back to login page and let's close all this because we have already written this code, so we can easily find the file. I mean, uh, or I can just use keyboard. Why not? Control P and yeah. So you can also use Control P to like open the file, open files quickly. If I'm not using it, I mean, it's okay. I sometimes I don't have much habit of using keyboards. Okay, so now login service is okay, but we need store because we need to dispatch an action. So we can say store and which is type of store. That's it. So we need store from ngrx store. This is okay. This is done. And now we can dispatch our action to load user profile and once the user is logged in. So here I can do load user profile and I need to pass the ID. So as we did earlier, like we'll load the data for user ID 2. So here load user profile, but from where? So we need to import the action as well. Hmm, that's what I was wondering. User actions. And from user actions, we need, let's go dot load user profile where see ID is 2. With this, so once we log in, we should see some data which is updated into our state. Let's go back. And what we need is we need to go back 4200. So we are redirected to login. And let's grab the username and password. Copy username. No, I need the last one. Oh, so every user has a different username and password, but we can use this one. Password and login. So once we are logged in, we should go ahead and check our state. There are some 101 errors. What kind of error is this? I'm not sure. Okay, I got scared. Basically, I thought like it's my error. But let's go to Redux. So what information we have in our store, we can verify this from here, Redux store. Here we can see, okay, there is get categories. You can see load user profile is called. The action is dispatched basically. And there is a load product, which we are also calling. Let's go ahead and see the user information. And the user has nothing. Why so? Action, ID, load user profile, state, diff. Because load product, okay, and again did some mistake and I know what I did. So let's go back to our user effect. So here user action dot load profile success, I have registered this one. The action was dispatched. Load product load user profile success, which is called here and state. Okay, we have the data. I was just wondering like why it's showing blank. Okay, so let's see the state. So we have our user information, right? So we have ID2 email and all the information which we needed is actually available in the store now. So in case I want to grab my user information, anything related to user email, phone number, we also have username and password for some reason, but address, everything is actually available in store and we can query it anywhere because we added this state in our root. So it's available for your entire application basically. So to get this information on our cart, or first let's go ahead and get this information somewhere else, which is our profile. So if you remember in profile section, actually what we are doing is we are getting this information by calling this service. But now it's actually available in our state. We can actually just grab it from our state. We don't have to do this. So here we can inject score, right? So, and now we can just call our selector. So in the profile, this dot store dot select, and here what we need is we already have a default selector. If you remember, we once we created state, we said we don't have to write any extra code. We already have the select user selector written for us. Let's go ahead and use that. So we have to import dot slash store slash user state. And here what I need is user feature. And then from user feature, I can select my state. So I can say, hey, just give me the user information, profile information, user feature dot select user, and that's it. Save this, and you can see this profile is actually type of it returns user from user state. I mean, it's also giving you type which type of data you are supposed to get, and then here, of course, we can just use this dot profile, and then we can subscribe because this is an observable stream, and from that we are getting user and again. So the UI should work as it is, but the only thing which we have to make sure now is we are not directly accessing profile because there will be nothing which will be loaded. We are actually going through login. If you remember, we just removed login from profile because we don't want it to log in again and again. And now we have to name, and let's go back to profile now. So just to verify that things work, it doesn't work. Why so? Let's see. So we have user information, it's available, but why it didn't work? So we can just do a console here and see what we get. I'll remove. Okay, there is something else which is actually oh, what I'm doing here is select user. Okay, expected one argument. Select user. Why it is expecting one argument? What I'm missing here? Okay, let's see the example in product. So we had select products, which was called here, and it worked same way. I just made some mistake somewhere else. Uh, why I'm passing this store? Actually, I can just do this and it should work. That's why it was getting failed. An overload matches this call. Argument of user undefined is not assignable to parameter of type state. What's wrong? Okay, it's gone. So what we have here, it says user or undefined. Yeah, user or undefined, right? So I can see, I can make sure that user is not undefined. And I think mm, do this, maybe it should work. Not null. So I can actually use pipe to filter null undefined values. So I can do this pipe. Let's use a little bit of ArcGIS. So I can say filter user, and which is not an empty user. And now it should not give us any exception. Uh, filter, and this is okay. And remove this one. And it still says user or undefined is not assignable. Not equals to undefined, maybe. And this is an extra. Why the user? I'm applying the filter operator. Let's see, filter from RxJS. Ah, Paul. Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm just wondering why this is not working. I mean, this should return me only users, right? I mean, this is what it does. Should filter user closure instead of. Okay, let's go with the solution which Paul gave as of now, and then I'll try to see what's wrong with this. So type, and then we can also pass that empty value, and this should work as well. See, let's go back to user, login. Let's log in. So this is what Paul shared, and it works because of course it's either the value, or in case it is undefined, it will just bind the blank values. Basically, there is nothing in the queue. There is nothing in the metadata, right? So there is, and patch value works in case you have set value. Of course, it will throw an exception. And we got all the information, right? So we have all the information which we needed here, and now we can actually use this information once we move to cart, because once we log in, we already have all this information available in the store. So let's try to use this data into our store, into our cart. But if you see, I mean, user is a different feature and the cart is actually a different feature, and we want to combine both. So this is where we can actually compose selectors from multiple features, and let's see an example. So let's go to the category, and categories, we already have categories, not categories, cart. Yeah, so let's go back to the cart. We have cart, store, and we already have a selector here. what we need is we need these user information against this user ID we already have available. So compose both the selectors. I'll say this is const, and what we should call it as user store or user card selector. So we get user information with the card, like all the information related to card. So we here what we need. So we have okay. We should have changed everything to card, not the product. Let's rename this. So we'll say this is select card. Right? So we get this card information. We'll say select current card. This is okay, but we have to change. And this is an error now. Card does not exist on type card array. Interesting. Because this should be this one. I was just using the wrong selector. And now we can use card feature. That's fine. We can compose both. So we need the current card. Select current card. Current card contains user information. We do have a user ID here. So we can see this. And here we can use select user. So we'll just import. We can import select user, or not select user, but user feature. And from user feature, we can select the user information. So we can say, hey, user feature dot select user. And now we can actually combine both cart and user. And you can you can actually just create a new object by using this, and you can select it. So here I'll just say what should we return. So we have cart information. So within cart, can we create a user, or we can create a property for user, and then we just send, like, here we can actually just pass that, okay, this is the user information in cart. Yeah, that's something which we can do, but you can also do this. So you can say return a cart and user. I can also do this. So you can see this is how it looks like. So you have a cart information and user information. Let's try to select this and see what we get. So let's go back to our cart component here. Rather than selecting current cart, now we can use the new selector which we have created. Select user user card selector. Use this. And cart has implicitly any type because it does not have. Oh, it's okay, fine. I'll just typecast it, or you can just say, hey, it's okay. Just give me any information. Just give me any, because I haven't typed it, so that's why. So we have cart. We don't need this one. Load cart by ID. Do we? Yeah, we need that. We need this. So we need cart by ID because we need the specific cart information as well. Let's go back to login. Maybe I'm just making it complicated, but if you have simple metadata, you don't have to do all this. Generally, you will get all this information from your backend. In our case, it's just the APIs. We don't have anything else. So let's go and see the cart information. And perfect. We have cart data. We have user data. What else we need is product information. We can actually also grab all the products based on the ID which we have. But for that, I'm going to try, or we are going to create a new dump component, which will just get the ID and display the product information problem. And we can select this information from some of the state. Again, we can actually combine the selector. Let's say we already have product, we can go ahead and check it in the product state. If there is information about this product into state, if it is not available, we can actually just grab it from making an API call and push it in our product array, and that's it. So once it is available in product array, we can actually display that information. Again, this is a little bit complex because we don't have all this information available from the API, right? In case you work on enterprise, probably you will not, you won't, don't want to do this. I mean, you can just grab all this information from the API itself. But yeah, this is dummy API. You have to compromise. You cannot just get everything out of the box. So let's try to build some of the API, some of the UI. So first, uh, how I want it to be displayed. Here, we can see some of the components which is available. And let's see some of the example of card. No. If you think card is okay, no, I don't think so. Chips, checkbox. Maybe we can, let's see if there is anything else. Or inside CDK, accordion, accessibility, platform observer. No, I don't think so. Collection, what is this collection? Yeah, this is something else. Clipboard is for dialogue. Okay, let's go ahead and use card component. We can display all this information. Uh, Hey, thank you. I'm not sure what's your full name, but advanced Git course. That's interesting. I mean, probably I, I can try. But yeah, let's see. We want this card component to be used. So let's grab this so we know mat card content and how what are the different things which we have. So we have title group, and content, subtitle, actions. Hmm. Let's try to create our own. I mean, I'm not convinced with card component here, but since a div, of course, everything starts with a div, right? And display some of the information. So what we need is name, and with all this information, of course, we have to subscribe to this, right? So we can say, hey, give me, show this ng if art type sync as art. You can also create model view if you want. I mean, in this case, this is okay. So I'll say, I'll remove this from div just to make it more readable. I can actually wrap it inside ng container. And remove this div. So name, we need name. And if you remember, the metadata is type of any right now. So we have to always make sure that we know what properties we are supposed to read. So we have cart information as well as the user information, both. And name is actually available inside user. So I can say cart dot user. This is the downside of using any, that you will not get any intelligence. But yeah, it's as of now it's okay. So I'll say cart dot user, and what was that first name, last name? Let's see. So we have cart, and then we have this user which is inside cart. So you can see, oh no. Okay, so we have the object, and then we have cart, and then user. Oh, okay, I just made it a little bit complicated. If you see other, because we cannot actually just access cart directly, right? So yeah, okay, no, I'll, change my metadata. I'll just try to do some since try to take it in some other way. And to do that, I'll just change one more thing. So inside cart information, so we have cart array. So user ID, and what I will do is I will pass user information here and I'll make it optional. Uh, So we are not exporting the user interface. Let's go ahead and do that. Lib store user interface is here. So we can export star from /lib slash store, and what we need is user interface. And now we have the user interface available. Let's see if I may get some error in the initial state if I'm not wrong. No, it works. So we are safe. And here, now let's see if I can do this. Can I return cart and update user or return undefined? So I'm saying if this both the information is available, return cart, where like we already have a property user. So this is spread syntax, right? So I'm updating the user property here. So let's go ahead and see now what type of data we get. So let's go back to our cart component .ts and let's see the type. So now we are actually still getting any because we have this one. Let's see. We should get user. We should get cart. So now it's okay. So we have cart information. So we don't have to compromise with our type safety. And here also this should work. So cart dot, now you can see you get all the information. So as I said, so some in live coding, like sometime you of course complicate things, but that's how live coding is, right? You never know. So what we need is name, and we need user dot email, and then I'll probably design it later, or maybe if someone has good designing skill, feel free to open a PR. We are in card at cart UI. I've been getting few PRs from Matthew, who is like helping a lot. I mean, because when it comes to CSS, I'm like, oh my god, CSS again. But yeah, it feels good when someone helps. And then we have address information. So for address information, we can actually combine, right? So we can say address line one, or should we? No, right? I mean, I can just do something called a div with address, and then uh, we can see it says user dot address street and then city. I think this is enough. This is enough information. Okay, where is that? Does state does not contain exist on type address property state. Ah, okay. So sometime, of course, GitHub Copilot writes extra code for me, which is not needed, and we don't have any errors. Yeah, that's fine. And we don't have any card information because we need to log in. So let's go back again. Let's go back to the cart. And yeah, we have name, email, phone, address, and why we are getting object here, because if you see name inside user, it says it has first name plus last name. So we can change that. We can change it to first name and last name. Uh, And this is a strange address, Lovers Lane. Is it? I did not created it, so don't look at me. But first name, first name, and interesting. And we have last name. I have to just remember that L is small. Sorry, and N is small. Um, First name. I mean, I think uh, to bind this data, the better we can do is basically having all this in div and then adding a span, because that's what I have seen people doing it. But as I said, I mean, when it comes to CSS, I'm the best person. And now for product, right? So for product, what we will do is we will send this product information to another component, another child component, and uh, let's create a child component which will just grab the product component and can display it for us. So here we will create another component. So let's next generate component, and what should we call it as? Cart list, or the product list. Why not? Project, we have this one, standalone, should be true. Should I export it? I think I need to, but let's see. So we have this component, and now let's see. So what we have here is it's gone. So if you remember, we have user, sorry, we have cart, and inside cart we have products array. So same thing which we can do for product, we can actually update our property, and rather than just having a product ID and account, I mean that's what we have available right now. We can check it in our interface. So if you see this, here should be, yeah. So if you see, products actually contains product ID and quantity. We can actually remove this and just have products array, and then based on product ID we can grab the product information and display it here, or we can just do it using selector, right? So we can actually write a similar selector to get this information, and that will work as well. I mean, probably we won't be able to do it today, but we'll try our best. So product list, we have this component, and here what we will do is we will create an input. So when we talk about, let's talk a little bit about dumb component, because we already we are almost at the end of the stream, and probably we can continue this tomorrow. So when I talk about a dumb component, right? So dumb component is something which will not do anything on its own. It will always rely on any data from its parent. So in this case, if I'm going to make this as dumb component or child component, so there are multiple names which you will hear about. So either child component, dumb component, or presentation component. So here this component will not do anything. I mean, it will just take the data and display as it is. So that's why it is also called as presentation component. Dumb component, because it will not take any action on its own, because remember, if it's a cart, you can also delete a product from a cart. But if I want to delete a product from this particular cart, this product list will not take the decision how to do it. It will always tell its parent that, hey, I want to remove this particular ID or particular product ID from this cart, and the product will always take the decision. That's why it's like dumb component. It's not like, it's not thinking on its own. So this is what we mean it in theory. Generally, uh, we can also actually use instruction strategy on push. I mean, we can also use it on parent, but if you remember, we have not actually talked about this so far. Be- I mean, signals avoid the new you avoid the need to actually have this, but as some of you probably will, some of not some of you, but most of us will be using NGRX for quite or RxJS for some years, probably once you adopt you adopt signals for all of your code base, which is not something which is going to change in a day, right? I mean, it will take years to adopt a code base. We have 700K lines of code, and we are still on Angular 13. So let's say if we need to migrate to Angular 16, which takes few more sprints. Let's we are developers, let's talk in terms of sprints. So probably in months, probably many months, and then you get some budget to refactor your code, and then you start refactoring, then you adopt signals. Years, right? But unless you have to use RxJS. So here, so we need to understand the change section strategy on push. That was the whole crux. I mean, that's why I gave all this information to you. But here I can actually create an input property, and we can say, hey, this input property is type of products, and it receives the products array. That's it. This is what it does. And once it receives this product array, it will just go ahead and bind it. How to do that? Probably we'll do it tomorrow. And one second, let me just change this import, because we have to also change our selector. Remember that. I mean, we are not there yet, and probably we are not importing the product interface as well. So store, we have our interface in action probably here. So I mean, the good idea would be to remove this product and put it somewhere else, in probably into a separate file, or probably into state. But it's okay. I mean, if I do it in state, I mean, I may get circular dependency, because I'm also importing actions here. So it can just say, okay, there is a circular dependency. So best place to keep this is create another file and keep that here. Keep this into that particular file and then import it. So I mean, we'll stop here today. We we saw like how to use selector composition, how you can actually compose this state from two different features into one. So that was the perfect example. I mean, using it for cart. So we grabbed the user information from login, and now we are going to do the same when it comes to product. So we'll stop it here and we'll continue tomorrow. So you with the same, I mean, we'll continue working on our cart, and probably by next week, that's what I'm looking at. This is where we will end this Angular stream, and probably we'll do something else. So see ya, bye bye, and see you tomorrow.